Basically, you've just clarified that basically the 7.125 billion people on the planet have no idea who they are, like at all.
That's
Everyone
right.
in this room.
That's right.
No idea.
No. And yet God designed us to know who we are by the time we're developed intellectually at, say, age 7 or 8. Sad, eh? Yeah. And that's because of sin, right? And its effects. Yep. Laura?
Because the majority of us are in the façade state,
Yep.
do you feel it's important for you to share these things with us now because it can help us with the quality?
So the real question is, why is it important to share these things with you now?
Yes.
All right, that's briefer than what you're going to do. It's important to share these things with you now because the reality is, for many of you, you don't see the point of deconstructing this. You don't. You think this is you. You think this whole construction, pain, and in fact the pain believes it's, and we'll talk about this, actually probably a good time to talk about it now, it's near the end of the outline, but let's just talk about how the pain feels about the real self. The pain feels it is the real self. The pain feels it knows the truth. The pain feels that it knows that its beliefs are real, they're true. It believes in the reality of its pain, right? So this is a problem with the pain. It's got no relationship to your real self at all. Many of you believe what you currently are is because of all of these experiences you've had that have been painful. No, partly it is going to influence what you are, but in time to come, your pain will have no influence whatsoever on what you see yourself to be at all. You won't even think about it at all. So this pain is thinking that you are somebody that you are not. So that's the state of the pain. What's the state of the façade? The state of the façade is even worse, isn't it? It hates the real self because it's trying to be someone completely different. Its whole point is to be a manufactured item that you've manufactured in order to please society, please the world or whatever. That's its whole reason for existing, right? And so it's just completely rejecting your real self. So can you see we have to at least talk about what your real self is so that you get a bit of a contrast between what God's created and then what man created and what the difference is between the two things and give you some hope for the future in terms of this is what you have the potential to become and to realise and to know more about yourself with. This is what you think you are now, but a lot of it's going to disappear, and many of you are terrified of it disappearing. That's one part of your refusal of terror too. You're terrified that the person you've become now doesn't exist or won't exist. And you know what? You're right. A lot of the person you've become now will not exist in the future. And the reason why is because all of God's laws are focused at deconstructing, destroying any creation that's out of harmony with love in the universe. Now, bearing in mind that what you believe is you is mostly out of harmony with love and God's definition of what's loving in the universe, all of it, from God's perspective, is going to have to be destroyed. And most of you are just terrified of that without knowing that there's this beautiful other part that can be developed. Can you see what's the point of that? You're going to hold on to that for dear life, right?
Yeah.
And this is what many of you are doing. You're holding on to that like for dear life, as if it's your life, when actually we need to keep reminding ourselves, no, we are a completely different creation with completely different potentialities. And even our what we call our personality at the moment is very much just our pain. It's not even our personality. It's just our pain.
So because I know that you went through this material at 2014 and I kind of dismiss it completely, but if that's predominantly fear-based, our facade and our pain, then the antidote to fear is truth.
And love.
So it helps us with really seeing the truth of the full
Yeah.
picture of
You need
God's
to at least
creation.
have a little bit of an intellectual concept at least to see what the potentialities are, because otherwise you're going to just believe this is you.
Yeah.
And if you believe this is you, it's sort of like we're all psychologically disturbed. And we are. From God's perspective, the whole of humanity is psychologically disturbed. The psychological disturbance is believing that their facade or their pain is the real them. That's the disturbance, right? That's why you are going to feel psychologically challenged going through this, because it is a psychological disturbance. Here is the real self, completely different. God created it. God has created a whole heap of laws for you eventually to come to terms with it and understand it. And that's going to require the use of your will too. And we're going to talk tomorrow about how you need to use your will in this regard too. You know, we've used our will unlovingly here. How can we use our will lovingly to really engage God's creation is the question, isn't it? To do that, we have to understand how the soul's been created, but we also have to understand the gifts that God's given to the soul to allow it to expand and grow. And that's why your next session is about God's gifts for developing your loving self.